Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're going to talk about Soulbound reward cards. This will be my final review of the newest edition of the Soulbound rewards. I did videos on every Splinter, but I did so before the nerfs. This is the final edition. They're now in circulation. Let's talk about where they fit in the meta. What are some tips and tricks about how they could be used? There's a couple gems I think I've come up with here, and I think I'm starting to see how maybe, for instance, the Life Splinter is going to be particularly powerful. If you want to hear my thoughts on this or watch me discuss this with my chat, then stick around and stay tuned for this one. And drop comments below. What do you think is the best, most powerful Soulbound reward card? Which Splinter got the shaft? Which one's doing the best out of these new Soulbound cards? Love to see it in the comment section below. Have an amazing day. God bless. Jarvie, you arrived just in time, buddy. We're going to talk about reward cards, Soulbound reward cards. I want to look at them because there's been changes, and I haven't commented. I did my video, a week or so ago about what I thought about the Soulbound rewards. I want to talk about the new ones, and I want to just, I guess, go through and talk about what I'm seeing. So at the highest level, Ferox Defender, what do we got here? 3 damage output, melee based, 3 speed, 5 hit point, 5 armor, 8 hearts. The protect is so key, but like armor has become, like we've said, armor has become really part of the meta. So I think this will be a very helpful tank. But then, do you want this in your first position? I'm not convinced you do. Shatter is nice. It's not a huge amount of damage output. It's not a huge amount of hit points. There's no void armor. There's no void. There's no shield even. So I don't love the sustainability of this tank. I like it maybe a lot in like a melee from any position, but I feel it's kind of a bit niche. So I don't love this card. Its speed is a little low. The damage is a little low. The vulnerability to magic is pretty significant. I'm not a huge fan of that. That's a common card, so I mean, what do you expect? Here's another common card though, and it's got a martyr, which is, we talked about how powerful martyr might be. I think we're going to see cool new use cases for that. See, but how would you make a card like this with no taunt the primary focus so that you could build a team where the martyr maximally benefits you? I'm not convinced that would be easy. You could put it in the first position and just let it die. I don't love that. Why would you want to pay 5 mana for a card just to martyr? I don't know that that makes a lot of sense. You could put it in the 6th spot so that it's a sneak attack defender, and if it dies, it martyrs on the 5th spot monster. But you don't know if your opponent's going to do sneak, first of all. So then you're bringing a martyr card, hoping it martyrs, and not even really knowing if it will. And if it doesn't, it's really quite a mediocre archery unit at the lower levels, with good archery damage and speed at the higher levels. But it's going to take a good while before we get up into here. I also love Fury because taunt is so prevalent these days, and snare is increasingly important. In my opinion, it's one of those abilities that will get more and more important because we'll get more and more monsters, and as we get more and more monsters in the game, it's just inevitable that there will be more and more useful flyers. Therefore, snare is one of those abilities that actually, in my mind, gets better with time. Same with giant killer and a few others. But yeah, and Fury is another one that will get better because there'll be more and more taunts, and so there becomes more and more utility to a card like this as time goes on. So I like this at higher levels. I just don't know how I'm going to maximally utilize martyr in this context without a taunt. So it's just kind of an okay card. I think I like it, but I'm not, it is not one of my favorites thus far from what I know. I like the art on this one. 3 mana, 3 archery, 4 speed at higher levels, 4 hit points, no armor, Life Leech, which will add up quickly with 3 damage output. You got the Dispel, which is so much more useful now due to Bloodlust, due to Martyr, due to Gladiators being in rank battles because of Conscription. So Dispel, love it. Oppress is great because we know that we're going to see through weapons training more and more of the no natural attack monsters. So this card to me feels very meta. Like it feels as though it's going to fit right in this new world with conscript, with weapons training, and also with a good amount of damage and speed, and Life Leech is going to turn it into a tank. I like this card a lot. This is my favorite of the fires so far. Idri Fire. What do you got going on, girl? Art's pretty cool. I don't love the look of this card. 6 mana, no attack, no native attack. You got that taunt. Okay. I think this was one I thought was kind of broken before it was nerfed. I think it had 3 more hit points, if I recall correctly. So it's still a huge tank. It's got a decent speed. I think 4 is the new kind of fast. Like 3 used to be, reasonably fast. Now I think 3 is slow. 4 is like basic fast. Taunt is always nice. Redemption feels a bit whatever. If you're playing a mana match, if you're playing a 6 mana card with a redemption, I feel as though you're not really playing a low mana match. And so with no attack, right? So this is probably going to be fine use in a 30 or a 40 mana match plus. And in those situations, is a redemption doing a lot for you? I don't know that it is. Archery or return fire is quite nice, especially with all the armor that it's got. The phase is interesting. I don't know if the speed is there, but if you compare this with, or add to this like a Yasik, for instance, maybe it starts to get to a place where phase is working for you. I like this card. Especially with weapons training now, right? I like this. I could definitely see a place for this. This is probably not, it's still not in my mind as desirable as the Pyre Watch Devil, because the 3 mana makes it so much more applicable across so many different use cases. I think this card strikes me as very powerful, and the Idri Fire so far is just, interesting or good. Phyrexia Hero, what do we got over here? 9 hit points, 3 armor. The highest level is 5 damage output. Really cool artwork. It's got that weapons training, so it's going to share some of its melee damage output with a neighboring monster. So you could put that Idri card we just looked at in the first position, make it your primary tank. With that, some of it had phase, it had decent speed, it had armor and hit points. It had, it's a strong, relatively strong basic tank, and then you'd put Phyrexia behind it, and you're going to impart some of that melee, half of this monster's attack if there was no attack. So you're going to get, if you got 3 damage output, if you got 5 damage output, you're going to get 3 on the Idri. So picture this guy over here with 3 damage output. It becomes a decent tank with all of this stuff. Yeah. Still, again, I don't change my final opinion on Idri out of that, because 3 damage melee is not so much that I'm thinking that's amazing. Like this card though, because it's a good reach monster with a significant amount of damage. Plus, Reflection Shield is so important in that second position. And it's relatively strong. I like this as a reach card for 8 mana. I like that a lot. Soriel the Bale. Double strike magic. Like, wow. I mean, that's an amazing combo. It's slow, but slow can be a good thing. Blind is always a good thing. And Rust. Rust, when your main attack is magic, becomes like a little bit, you might think whatever, but presumably you're not maybe only going to bring magic, or maybe there's a weak magic rule set where you don't want them to have any armor because your magic is going to hit that armor. So then bringing a Rust can be helpful. Plus we know, like we said, Grandmaster Wraith is so prevalent, and that void armor. So I like this card a lot. I'm going to say from the fire team, top 3 look like a definitive Pyre Watch in the first position, because not just because it's strong, but because it's low mana and therefore is going to apply to so many more matches. I probably like Phyrexia, because I don't love all the secondary tanks in the fire team, but this, other than Phineas Rage, I feel as though it's a bit of a weaker section of the fire team. And then lastly, and I guess also the weapons training can introduce some sort of new coolness to the fire team. So I like Phyrexia a lot as a number 2 on the fire rewards. And lastly, Soriel with the double strike magic. Yeah, those are my top 3 from the fire team. I'm going to check them in the chat before I do blue, but I want to go through them all quickly here, guys. Bobby, Uncle Jarvis here. Hide. Morning, Jarv. So if you run the green beta summoner, yeah, okay, green beta, okay, and Kitty, and run Vampiric Blossom and Gargoyle Devil, Vampiric Blossom and Gargoyle Devil. I'm trying to picture them all in my head, along with the Scale Doctor and some other repair heals units you will crush if they don't have shield or reflect. I defeated Jodin with Martyr. It boosted my Grum and Tinderlock. Cool. Yeah, boosting your Grum is always a good thing because it gets that bloodlust going, right? Once you boost your Grum, he does more damage. He's more likely to get another kill. Then suddenly it snowballs. My favorite is the common life card that got a huge buff. Okay, we'll look at that. Darren, hey Darren. Darren is literally one of I think he might be the first person who ever supported the channel financially with a super chat. So thanks. Shout out to Darren. He's been here since literally day one. When I first saw these martyr units, I thought of monsters that deal 1 damage to adjacent units. I thought of monsters that deal 1 damage to adjacent units while boosting itself. Kills the martyr while receiving boosts. I don't think I understand. I think you're saying you imagined martyr meant something else. Kexum says, new reward cards made it easy to climb back to silver. Bots didn't stand a chance. I bet they no idea how to use it, right? No data to rely on because they look at the data and then they make choices based on that. You look at your options and you creatively craft something unique. Gobson Bomber is becoming a favorite of mine. 6 damage with camouflage. Wow. Okay, let's check out the blue. Blue team. Okay, I got Swamp Spitter. I'm not in love with this one so far. Repair is always good, but I'm not in love with it. I like how he's archery because that does mean I can put him in a rear position, which I like because, I want repair on my team, but so far right now, the only one they really have is there's a Tertesian something or other, and it's a tank of sorts. It's like a melee turtle. It's cool. It has a niche purpose, but that the Swamp Spitter feels more applicable broadly because it's got archery, so I can throw it in the rear. It's got a good amount of hit points and decent armor. It's got the Giant Killer, which is increasingly powerful because there's more and more monsters at 10 plus mana. So I like this card. I don't love it. 7 mana feels like a lot for an archery monster, but if you're playing in a 99 mana, this would get a lot of play out of me. Because repair is so important, because it does a fair bit of archery damage. But I'm saying in lower mana matches, I'm just never gonna, right? Because it doesn't have close range. Coastal Sentry was one I thought originally, before any of the nerfs, and I haven't looked at it since. To me, this one felt amazing. So let's have a look and see what I still think. I don't remember exactly what the stats were, but let's just comment on it how it is now. So we got 3 melee out the gate with the double strike. That's pretty boss. Like that's pretty nasty. Now you are costing 10 mana, which is no joke, but you do have the 1 armor. So if you could play this even in a tank position or a melee from any position, I could see that having work, putting in work at the lowest levels. And quickly you're getting into, at silver, you're going to be doing 4 damage twice a turn. The speed is the speed's good. The piercing makes it and takes it to the next level. So in that gold level or above, you're getting the 4 damage out plus the piercing. I love this card already. Like really at every level so far. And then you get into the highest levels, you're doing, the only thing that's stopping this thing is force field. This is a beast with the knockout. Whoa. And this is a common. I know it's potentially giant killed. That's a weakness. I know it's vulnerable. It has no sort of shield, void, phase. Sure. But this is a glass cannon. That's what I said about it before, and I still, like, it is, man. Like, double strike, 5 damage, piercing, knockout. Wow. In melee from any position, this is a nasty card. I love that card. So that's way better than the Swamp Spitter. Okay. We got Riverboat Captain. What's your deal? I don't love the art on this one. He looks like he would live in Oregon. He looks like he would own a bed and breakfast in Portland, and he would sell you a craft beer that he microbrewed in his basement. 2 magic goes up to 3. Okay, 6 mana for 3 magic, not bad. Slow, but that's not always a bad thing. Relatively weak in terms of damage or hit points. The blast is pretty huge. The affliction is nice, and the fury is nice. Okay, I like it. I don't love it. It's still too vulnerable, and because of the speed, it's too niche. You're going to use it in reverse speed sets more than anything else. 6 hit points is not enough. it's going to be really vulnerable to opportunity attack monsters because of its speed, because of it's going to, the magic reflect is actually going to be a real problem for him because he's blasting, he's hitting more than one target. He's likely going to hit, like often he's going to hit somebody magic reflecting. I don't love that one. I got to see what you guys said. Do you like the Portland conversation there? I don't have any new rewards, none in any chest or a few packs I've opened since yesterday. Still getting old ones. More like potential cards down the road, an ability that deals damage to your own team. Yeah, that would make sense, but buffs itself and triggers martyr ability instead in early battle. Darren, something that sounds like to me is what's it called? There was this comic. There's this book I used to read as a kid. I forget what it's called now, but there's this bloodlust ability where the guy he tastes his own, like when he gets into a massive battle, he will bite his own tongue so that he tastes blood, and it drives him into this frenzy type of thing. So it's almost like you get damaged. It's like somebody else gets damaged and it like communicates in rage to them or something. I got my first reward cards for season rewards, but you are getting cards that are appreciating in price. Well, these are gonna be worth something, Kexum. Coastal Sentry with Possibilis at the second position. Ooh, good call, Ammon. The second position with that double strike and the 5 damage and the piercing. And oh, dude, watch out. Darren with a little. Bobby looks like he makes a mean cider. Yes, he does. He does. Richard, hi Dwayne. From a gameplay point of view, Silver League, do you have a suggested cheaper replacement to Chain Golem? It can be a combination of a summoner and a monster to get similar stats. I want to answer that question, but I want to keep going through the blue at least. Let's finish blue and then let's maybe swing back to that. But I do want to go through all the reward cards because I like Chain Golem, especially the thing about Chain Golem very quickly, is that he has the avoid armor, and so you can bring him in and he will be an opportunity distraction. You need cards in your deck that are opportunity distractions because there's so many amazing opportunity monsters, and so it's great when you can have a monster that attracts the opponent's opportunity but has a ton of shields and therefore is going to minimize your vulnerability and their advantage. I was thinking Chain Spinner, my bad. Chain Spinner. I like the Chain Spinner for those reasons. Limited hit points, high armor, and it's void armor. So Chain Spinner is something I like a lot for the reasons I just described. Chain Golem is one that I've never owned, and I rent regularly because it is good. But you got your slow, you got your speed, you got your like super resilient. Like this is a tank of tanks. To me, this is like literally the definition of a main tank. Shield, void, piercing, stun, good amount of hit points and armor. Dude, it's hard to replace something like that. You're talking like, this is it the best tank of tanks? I don't know about that. It's in the conversation with like Lord of Darkness. It's in the conversation with like, what else? Like Flesh Golem. It's in the conversation with, what are some of the best tanks? This is one of them. So to replace that is no easy task. But let's carry on. Noah the Just. It's cool artwork. Name is interesting. 5 mana. Okay, so no native attack. I like how evasive it is. 6 speed with the dodge and the backfire and the martyr and the rust. I like this one a lot from a no attack perspective. It's an interesting off tank because it has a good amount of hit points. It's very evasive, and if it does dodge, it's going to hurt you. The martyr makes it interesting also. I don't know that you could count on this martyr triggering in a massive way for you, but just that it has it is interesting. I like this card for 5 mana. I like that card. I really want to see what the blue does for which blue has the weapons trainer, because that's going to impact how cool Noah really ends up being. So we got there's the weapons trainer right there. So melee. So then this is an opportunity monster. So you can put this in the first position. You put Kulu in the second. you're getting an opportunity beast that has weapons training impartment onto him. So yeah, interesting. I really like that Noah the Just. It's not nearly as good as the double attack melee though. So here we got another massive opportunity melee from the blue. Blue team is like increasingly taking over that melee position as the melee kind of team. Fire has always historically been that, but blue is to me like better at it now. For real. With this and with the Pellicor Bandit, with the Saber Shark, if you mess with that one. What's it called? I'm forgetting it right now, but the Deep Lurker, with the Demoralize, the Poison, the Opportunity, like it's such a nasty team, man, with the rear melee or opportunity melee attacks. So you got the Weapons Trainer, love it. Opportunity, love it. Shield, amazing. This thing looks like a tank. And then Enrage, dude, you better have Force Field on your, and it's got Opportunity. So how are you even, you better have a taunt with Force Field. Is that even a thing? Because I feel as though this is going to absolutely just gobble up the back lines because of the opportunity. And then with this, and you can't place your Force Field in a way that stops me because it's opportunity. I'm going to go for your weakest anyways. So this card's powerful. To me, it's way better than most. So Coastal Sentry and Kulu Mastermind are like way out in front on the blue team for me. Wow, this artwork is so insanely awesome. I love that, dude. It looks so anime. It looks like One Punch Man, one of the enemies or one of the allies that One Punch Man would be with. Okay, so a little bit of damage output, 3 mana. I like that. Decent speed. Small, but again, it's only 3 mana. It's got the Scavenge, which adds up all the time. Shatter is okay, whatever. Dispel, I think we're going to really want. So I like this card a lot. It's for sure the number 3 though, even though I like it a lot. Like I really like it a lot, but it's nowhere near Coastal Sentry or Kulu. Yeah. Okay. Let's check him in the chat and we'll quickly rip through green. Riverboat Hippie. Yeah, that's another way to say it. They did mention the possibility of... Okay, Astral, they did mention the possibility of negative abilities like a summoner with +2 magic but lose hit points. I love that idea. We talked about that at Splinterfest. Somebody asked the question, what about summoners or monsters that have negative abilities? Like, it hurts your team, but it's so good in other ways. Like, it does crazy damage output, but it literally nerfs the rest of his teammates. That happens in other games, like Lord of the Rings Living Card Game, which is a game I love. And it's so cool because it creates this whole nuance and this whole new angle to thinking through a team creation where it's not just what's the best, like what's maximizing my damage output. It's like also, does the damage output outweigh the potential nerf impact? And how can I use that in certain situations and conditions to be the better play? Because it can be surprising. It's like, why would you want to nerf yourself? Well, sometimes nerfing yourself in one facet can increase your maximal, opportunity for winning because of other opportunities it creates. I think that's a cool idea, and I believe they're going to do it. The way the question was answered at Splinterfest was very like, yeah, that's cool. We should do that. It was very like, yes, but we'll see. Richard, could you use New Earth Summoner to give Void with a neutral tank, such as Legionnaire? You could do a video on finding cheaper alternatives to gameplay only. That's a good idea, Richard. I'll make a note on it and like try and, see like alternative to Chain Golem video. Yeah, thanks for the idea. Astral Robot, Mastermind, Deep Lurker, Sentry, and Possibilis. Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. That sounds nasty. And imagine Possibilis with Demon Shark, Coastal Sentry, yep. Demented Shark, yep, for the melee buff. Deep Lurker, yep. Kulu's Mastermind, yep. And finally, speed boost with supply runner with trample. This would be crazy. Or you could even do, you know, I almost like, yeah, you're right. No, I like that play a lot. That does sound nasty. Although I might get rid of the demon shark and put the, because I like the demon shark a lot, but if you put the demented shark in the first position, that it's doing melee damage output, and then the coastal sentry is in the second position. Now you'd be a real glass cannon because your demented shark is quite vulnerable to every type of attack, and then your coastal sentry is vulnerable to every kind of attack. So you'd be nervous about dying before you killed your enemy, but that can work. Like there are lots of times where I have very little hit points and I delete my opponent before they even swing. Yeah, don't sleep on Possibilis. Okay, let's do some green. Okay. The Fungus Flinger Martyr, huge. Really low mana. I love the low mana monsters, man. Like they just fit into so many niches. Whether you're playing 99 mana or whether you're playing 20. You know, these guys can often find a home. Okay, so relatively low damage, kind of really slow, and then kind of fast. I don't love when my monsters do this because they end up having one sort of story and utility at the lowest level and a totally different use case and sort of appeal at a higher level. And I don't know how well that lends to sort of future price appreciation because it ends up impacting its use case and desirability at certain leagues. And then it becomes really interesting. So it's like if you play a diamond or champ, you want a card like this probably. But then if you play a bronze, you probably don't. And so I think that hurts the sort of price appreciation argument for a card. But let's go. But that's only one facet. Let's keep looking. Martyr is huge for 3 mana. That's really, and that seems like for 3 mana, that's a really desirable ability. Blind is always good. Affliction is always key. Relatively low damage output. Just okay. I feel like this had camouflage before or something. I think it's just okay. But for 3 mana, I'm listening. And you could put that, like the blind is really nice. And then because of the Fernheart, you got another archery monster that you could put in and be, okay with it reaching the front. Now it is vulnerable. It's really low hit points, but again, it's okay. I like the Martyr, but again, how do you use the Martyr and lead to it being triggered in a way that you want in a reliable manner? I don't know. Okay, so 6 mana, small damage output, gets into a reasonable place. Dodge is interesting. Archery, return fire is interesting. I don't love this one. This feels like a green version of the, what's it called? Of the Serpent of Eld. And the Serpent of Eld is a fine tank. It's got return fire also. It's got some hit points and some armor. It's got dodge. I don't love this card. And if you ever go against Magic, you're hooped. And I would say it feels like the same thing here. So yeah, you got more hit points, but don't love it. Not even sure I like it. Madcap Magus, what do you got going on? I always love Life Leech. Now, 2 damage output at the higher levels is relatively low, but you do only have a 4 mana cost. Scattershot is annoying, usually. I just don't like relying on it. You never know where it's going to land. So I'm not super stoked about this yet. But I do like, I guess, I hate when my enemy taunts me and funnels my attack and in that way kills me because they control where I'm aiming. So Scattershot can be really helpful. Affliction's interesting. Dispel helpful. I like it. I don't love it. So far, I'm kind of underwhelmed by the green team here. Thane, New Song. I remember saying that this was my favorite of the sort of team synergies with the new Soulbound cards. I remember saying that, Thane with whoever does the, weapons training on the green team, and then one more really felt like a strong combination. So let's see if I still feel that way. Thane, I love this kit, man. Inspire, Strengthen, Swiftness, Headwinds. That's an amazing off tank right there. And a good amount of hit points. And you're going up to 10. Slow, but you got the Swiftness, so you're now a 3, which is okay. 5 mana, I like that one. So far, that's by far my favorite green. We get over here with the Ava the Undaunted. You got the weapons training, so you drop you're imparting your archery onto that one we just looked at. Now I don't love that because, like, what? The card we just looked at, Thane, is going to probably be a tank, I would say. And then you're going to give him archery, but he's not even going to be able to fire unless you're using Fernheart, which he could. But then the Inspire is probably being wasted. So I don't know if I love that combo anymore. I don't know if I think he used to have. Did he used to have? Oh, I remember what I used to say. So Ava, I don't love this one either, is what I'm saying. Yes, it's got close range, so the archery can make it, but it's relatively weak. The weapons training is cool, but I don't love weapons training in the form of archery. I'd rather have magic or melee. Shatter is cool. Oppress is nice. This is good, not great. So far, I like Thane a lot. And I think in my first video on this topic, I said Teratius could be a nice tank, and then you could put Thane, and then you could put your weapons trainer, and then in that way you get a strong tank. Like, this guy's a good tank. Like, you got the huge armor, you got the hit points, you got the void armor, you got the taunt, you got the demoralize. It feels like a tank. And then behind that you put Thane, so you have a second tank. Which is going to protect you from archery. It's going to protect you from, if it has to move into the first position, Thane's going to be a good one. And then also Thane's going to have the archery because you're going to bring Ava. So I like that 1, 2, 3 combo. But do you have all of those? And of course, I don't even have them. So, it's going to take a while before you equip yourself with those. But if you can get those max level, I like that 1, 2, 3. I don't love the green team Soulbounds. They're pretty meh to me. But I like, if I had to choose one winner, I would see myself using Thane by itself without weapons trainer more than I would use any of these others, including Teratius, because Teratius, while I like it a lot, just feels like that giant. I'm worried about giant killer. I'm worried about its speed. I'm worried about how much mana it takes up out of my team mana. Whereas Thane is cheap and does so much and has that off tank ability. I like him. So Thane is the only real one I really love there. From the white team, let's rip through white before we go check with chat. Imperial Knight, I like the image, the cool sword, 7 mana. You're doing up to 4 damage output with 3 speed. You got huge armor, huge hit points, void armor. This card's sick. This card's awesome. This is a brand new, amazing tank that fits so well with the white team and probably introduces more usefulness from some of the other white summoners, because Wraith does so many cool things, but it already has the void armor. So then maybe you don't want to drop Wraith. Maybe you want to drop, Lorna Shine, or you want to use, heck, any of them. Like the cheaper mana summoners suddenly become more viable again because you have a void armor tank with the white team. And the self heal is huge, and the magic reflect is huge because magic reflect is going to bounce off of even your armor due to the void. I like this card a lot. Now, it's not doing a huge amount of damage, but the sustainability, the resiliency between the heal and the void armor is really huge. I like that card a lot. Drybone Barbarian, sweet looking. Enrage is huge. I always love that. So you're going to get some crazy speeds, right? You get the 4 plus the Enrage is going to 6. And then if you bring any swiftness, it can get really carried away. And 6 damage turning Enrage is 9. You bring any Inspire to that conversation, this thing could be absolutely ridiculous. This feels a lot like the Orc Stone Splitter, which is an older green card that has Retaliate, that has an Enrage, that has a high melee damage output. But this is even better because it has more hit points, meaning it has longer to take advantage of the Enrage. If you only have 5 hit points and you have an Enrage, you need to take damage on your base so that you can proc your Enrage. Well, this has more hit points left over after being hit once. And then the Retaliate has longer to be advantageous because you're alive longer. And there's a 50% chance on that. And the knockouts are just always awesome. This card's amazing. So I feel like green is embarrassingly, to me, green is definitively the worst Soulbound kit so far. Not saying it's terrible. I like Thane a lot. I like some of these other ones a lot at the higher levels. I like them, but it is very mediocre compared to all the other ones I've looked at so far. Where each of the other splinters so far, I had loved some of the cards. And for me, Dry Bone and Imperial are both home runs. So right now, white is kind of running away with it. That's a really sick art style. So we got a War Pegasus. He's got archery damage. It goes up to 4. Another archer from the white team, which can go with Sloan and do some good things there. Good speed, which is really nice because a lot of the archers on the white team are a bit slower. This one's bringing speed. You got high hit points. You got Shatter. You got Flight. You got Demoralize. Demoralize is always nice to have. If you can throw another Demoralize on the rear of your team, and really diminish your opponent's output, I love that. Especially with all the shield tanks that the white team has. So Demoralize ends up being really helpful. So I like this card. It's a winner. It's not as good as the first 2 white ones I looked at, but I like it a lot. Evelyn. Oh, she looks so rad. Evelyn Alvera. 5 mana. Love it. Huge hit points considering the 5 mana. 14 hit points. Reflection Shield. Immunity. Thorns. Whoa. Whoa. I love this card. The immunity is so important. Poison, Noxious Fume rule set is so common these days. Thorn is so nice. Reflection Shield is so huge. And of course it's going to have some sort of... the white team has that magic weapons trainer. Right? Yeah. Iziar has the magic weapons trainer with the taunt. So this is awesome. Like with Iziar, you've got the taunt. So you control that Iziar will die first because of the taunt. And then you're gonna be providing weapons training to Evelyn Alvera. So she's getting magic damage output, which I guess will only be 2, but still it's something. And then when this dies, you're gonna be, oh yeah, but you know what? Because when this dies, it'll lose its weapons train ability. Interesting. So I almost don't like the synergy here because you bring Iziar to provide weapons training to Evelyn, but then Iziar is going to be the first to go, and then Evelyn's left with no damage output. But I like Evelyn as a standalone with all of that kit, the thorns, the Inspire, the high armor working really well with Wraith. And then Avis Sturgis. Okay, you got weapons trainer over here too. Was I wrong about there being a weapons trainer on the... maybe I was. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought there was weapons trainer here. Oh, it was a martyr over here. Oh, that's... Yeah. Yeah, okay. So let's take a step back. So then you've got magic damage over here with your weapons trainer. That's going to impart to Evelyn. Now, it's not going to be a huge amount of damage. You got 3 damage. You're going to put 2 damage on your Evelyn. Still, I like this better. I like this. This is interesting. I don't love it. I would say Evelyn to me is almost by herself, like the standalone. And this is just a compliment, a cool compliment that you don't necessarily even need. Rust is so important. Divine Shield is so huge, especially for a low hit point guy. 6 mana feels a little expensive for what it's doing, but I guess the weapons training is it can't be cheap. So white team's amazing. And we talked about this, but I love that you're going to be able to taunt and know that your martyr is going down. And then in that, planning to have 2 monsters side by side that are going to maximally take advantage of that martyr. So, what would that look like? I mean, from the white team, it's probably going to be either an archer or a magic monster, right? Probably. So because it's going to be, you're going to put the taunt magic monster in the back line or in the 5th spot. So then I don't know if I'd want to boost an archer. Ooh, you bring Pellicor Arbalist, get 1 more damage output times 2. That could be an interesting little bloodlust opportunity or a martyr opportunity. But then let's flip over to magic. And I think if you bring Time Meddler and put this in the 6th spot. Oh no, my bad, not Time Meddler. What's the one with Last Stand? Runemancer Atua, who people really don't like very much. You put this in the 6th spot behind that taunt, and you're gonna get 1 more magic damage output when the taunt goes down, and then you're gonna you're going to make it to the front position with not just 3 damage output, but 4 that goes last stand into 6. I think that really changes Rumancer Atuat's functionality. So the white team so far to me is the absolute king of Soulbound reward cards. But I love 2 of the blues really a lot. I love 2 of the reds quite a bit. It goes white as for sure the winner, blue second, red third, and green a distant fourth so far. And we will go through black and dragon in a second, but I want to check in the chat. Bacteria in the front. Oh yeah, you could put bacteria too. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because you could bring in. I've been imagining the magic. Sorry, I've been imagining the weapons trainer in conjunction with the other soulbound cards. But you're right. There's tons of other non-attacking cards like Bakjira, like Almo Cambio, like Gelatinous Cube that could slot in with any one of these weapons trainers. That's pretty cool. HL49, good to see you, buddy. Guys, check out his channel. For how long do you keep on streaming? Usually 2 hours. I'm going over here, but I want to finish all the Soulbound reward cards. Yeah, thanks for you're correcting me on the mortar. The owl has a weapon train. Thanks, buddy. Just beat Eli the wise in ranked. Nice. Time and attention versus time and attention. Yeah, I saw that, Butters. Nice one. Wait, would Bloodlust give all Arbalist 4 attacks since it has double strike? No. It doesn't double your abilities. It doubles your stats. So Martyr would increase Arbalist. Let's go back there for a second. I think what I just told you guys might turn out to be something like a meta. I feel that confident about the utility there. So if you put that taunt we talked about from the Soulbound next to in the 5th position, and you put Pellicor Arbalist in the 6th position or the 4th position, it's going to go from 3 damage output to 4 damage output. And then you could have Sloan with this, making it 5 damage output times double strike, and the speed goes up, the hit points go up, etc. And so I think that could be a really, really useful benefiter from the taunt on the new taunt Soulbound with the Martyr. And then also the Atuat, the Rumancer Atuat, and what that'll do in the form of improving the damage output and thereby improving the last stand functionality from the Rumancer. I like that. And there's going to be other good ones. Like think about the Temporal Mage who has recharge and it has 3 damage output, but for 3 mana that turns into 6, and it would then be 9 damage output for 3 mana every other turn. Yeah. Time Master, anything with recharge is slept on too. Recharge is like, it's not good enough because it's in the second turn. I get it. But that could change. Maybe one day we get a summoner that affects how recharge works and it fires in the first turn and the third turn and the 5th turn as opposed to 2nd, 4th, 6th, etc. Okay, we got to wrap up here. Let's keep going. We'll go through Death and Dragon, and then I'll check in with the chat one more time and see if there's any last things. So maybe 20, 25 more minutes, guys. Death, what are we? Okay. So I snagged some of the puppets, possessed puppets. Got the double strike again, melee damage output getting really high. This feels like that coastal one on the blue team, although it has far fewer hit points. It has cripple though, and that is just nasty because the cripple can be such a counter to these massive tanks with these huge hit points. So I like cripple a lot. I like the double strike a lot. I like the dispel. So great card. It's going to depend on the melee condition. I want to see this in an equalizer ruler set. I want to see it in a super sneak or a melee from any position, but I don't like this as much as I like that coastal whatever from the blue team. And they're very comparable in some sense, and yet this one ends up being second. Wily Coyotean. Cool artwork. Kind of looks like Guts from Berserk. It's got a huge sword and it's got the big shoulder. Okay, 2 mana, 2 damage, 4 speed, huge, hit points for 2 mana. This feels like a new kind of almost Pellicer Conjurer vibe, right? Because it's got significant tank potential with the phase ability. Now it's relatively slow, so the phase probably doesn't trigger all that much. But if you bring blind, if you bring swiftness, if you bring, other things, if you bring dodge in the form of astral entity, Yes, guys. Wily Coyotean. I like that one a lot, especially for 2 mana. That combination is, but the problem is in the Little League format, you'll say, "Oh, I want to use Wily." But then you can't use Astral to bring the dodge because Astral is a 6 mana summoner and you can't use 6 mana summoners in Little League. But I like this card a lot. This one is my favorite death so far. Ravenhood I like a lot because the protect and armor is so important. Plus death doesn't have a lot of protect. Doesn't have a lot of armor. You got to bring like neutrals, like there's a different archer who has protect. There's the alchemists or whatever the bear is called. It's small damage output, slow speed, relatively weak, but it brings these positive buffs that I really like seeing. For 4 mana, I like that one a lot. It's not among the best soulbound cards I've looked at today, but on the death team, I like both of them that I've looked at, or all 3 of them looked at so far, quite a bit. Will-O-Wisp, 12 hit points, flight, 4 speed, with the dodge from your astral entity, with the blind. Oh, guys, you better bring snare to the Will-O-Wisp fight or you're going to be in trouble. Because the snare would be 100% hit, even though there's blind, even though there's flight, even though there's dodge. Plus the nerfing. Man, this is a great card. Like it's probably one of the best off tanks maybe in the game. Because of its evasiveness, because of the fact that you bring a dodge with your summoner nowadays with the astral entity. Doesn't have a self heal, doesn't have phase, but it's still such a huge hit point. Is it better than Bakjira? Maybe not, but it's nearly as good. And it's an epic, not a Bakjir is a legendary. Skok Dusk Bright. What's your deal? Okay, you got the weapons trainer with the magic damage. You're gonna be kicking out 2 magic. This guy looks like Skeletor. Skeletor from He-Man. Okay, you're kind of slow. You are slow. You're relatively low damage. The weapons trainer is cool, but not a huge deal because you don't do very much damage. Fury is always amazing. Resurrect is another amazing card. Like more Resurrects, right? Love it. So Resurrect makes that really good, but I'm like, I just don't love it. I don't like the weapons trainer with only a 3 damage output. Because it only leads to a 2 damage share on the Will-O-Wisp. Uset. What's your deal? Okay, so 10 mana, dude. What's going on there? Okay, let's see. 2 damage output. 3. Oh, you got Bloodlust? I don't think I've ever looked at this card. I don't know if I ever looked at this card. Okay, so 10 mana, 3 damage output, which is kind of low, but you've got Oppress, which is going to be so much more commonly, impactful. The Bloodlust is going to get crazy. If you were to play this in the right blast condition rule sets, this is going to proc, and then it's going to be nasty with the magic blasting and whatnot. Plus, it's a tank, dude. It's like a full-out tank. It doesn't have taunt, but that's actually good. Wow. This brings the death team up a notch in the magic, in my mind, in a big way. Because one of the weaknesses here is the vulnerability around Giant Killer, but because it doesn't have taunt and because you can play it in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th position, it ends up being, hidden from those giant kills, probably. So I think this card's going to stick around for a long time. It's going to be doing massive oppress damage. It's going to be self-healing, so it's a good maybe sneak attack defender. It's quite evasive with the flight and the dodge, remember, from your new summoner. And Bloodlust is going to add up. This card is crazy. The amount of Bloodlust is coming to the game now because of not just the gladiators and not just the common bloodlusters that are in the rank battles like Grum and Usat and whoever else, but and Jared Scar, but now the gladiator summoners, it's just going to change the game entirely. Like metas are going to be turned on their head, and that's just the bloodlust side. But there's the martyr side and how that's going to rethink things. There's the weapons training and how that's going to change the meta. This game is so radically turning on in these huge ways. It's so exciting to watch. I hope you guys are feeling that. I'm pumped about it. So to me, Uset is like maybe it's at least in the top 3 of all of the soulbounds I've looked at. It's a tank. It's an off tank. You bury it at the back for sneak defense, and it's going to be this massive contributor. The oppress is going to be more and more powerful because of things like weapons trainer and how often cards don't attack. And it's got that self heal too with the big hit points in the armor. I love that card. Okay, now into dragon. Is this the first one? Dragon. Let's just go dragon. Yeah, it's just these two. Okay, this one I remember loving. Oh wow, I think they really nerfed this, didn't they? I feel like this had way more before. I don't remember what it had, but I remember loving this card, and now I think it's just whatever. Okay, let me think of this. Okay, you got 4 speed, you got no attack, you got no armor, you got relatively low hit points, but you're only 1 mana. You got the scavenge, which is going to add up. If you get 5 hit points, it's going to turn into 10 before it makes it to the first position. If you leave it in the right, if it's the second or third position to start with, it's going to make it to the front and it'll be a tank. So I love it for 1 mana. That's crazy. And then you get the redemption out of it. Plus, theoretically, any one of those weapons trainers we talked about, that's really good. But it was way better. I forget what it used to have, but it was way better. So I love it because it's dragon, because it's 1 mana, because it's going to have 10 hit points by the time it makes it to the first position. But yeah, whatever it used to have was somehow better. And lastly but not least, Barrick's Snake Eye. He looks like the chromatic dragon. Like he's got like 1 color over here, a different color scale over here. It's like he's more than 1 dragon stitched together. And you get the weapons trainer over here with the archery output. So you could put this next to that one we just looked at. And because you got 4, you're going to be kicking out, you're going to be sharing, I think, 2 damage output with the other dragon we just looked at. I think. Might be 3. Slow. I don't love that. Good armor. Good hit points. Like that. You got True Strike, so the speed doesn't necessarily matter. You got Oppress, which I think is going to be really helpful. This is another beast. This, to me, is another huge beast. This one is gonna partner a lot with many of those other cards that I showed, but wasn't maybe so keen on their weapons trainer. So this weapons trainer is gonna step in and fill that niche. Now I don't love that it's archery. I would prefer if it was magic, but because it's archery, it actually has 4 damage output, whereas some of those magic weapons trainers only did 3. And so I think actually you're gonna end up sharing 3 archery. And then if you can bring a +1 archer with the dragon, there is that one. What's it called? There is a 1 summoner with a +1 dragon archery. So then you're turning 5, and you're for sure gonna share 3. And that becomes interesting. Plus the True Strike, and True Strike is so important because speed has been so important. So just to wrap on that. I feel like the strongest ones, let me see. The strongest ones, I like Phyrexia from the Fire. I don't think it's in the top 5 or top 3 of all the soulbounds. No, Pyre Devil Watch was number 1 from the Fire for me. Because of the mana cost, because of all of its abilities, because of the life leech. Coastal Dragon probably, or Coastal Sentry probably, or Kulu because it's going to partner so well with the existing Deep Lurker meta. Yeah. Oh, Coastal Sentry. Coastal Sentry is number 1 from the blue. From the green team, we got to go with Thane Newsong with like not a tip of the hat over to Teratius because he's a good tank, but I like Thane for what he does for the mana that he is. And I don't love the green. I think green is the worst of all the soulbound. Not that they're bad, but it has the worst overall soulbound kit. White has the overall best soulbound kit. And the only one I really didn't love was Avis. Everything else here is amazing. Some of them are, maybe they're like, you've got to be careful about how you use some of them, but I think they're super powerful. So white, and this one is the only taunt with the martyr. So that's really going to be, I think it's going to be, you're going to see that card be meta defining. From the death team, Wily Coyotean is so crazy for just 2 mana, especially when you add the dodge on there with the new summoner. The protect is really helpful from the Raven Hood, but he's relatively weak. Will-O-Wisp is very strong, but with no self-heal, I just feel as though I wouldn't be looking to it as like a primary consideration. Whereas Usut is, to me, in probably the top 3 of all these cards, of all of them, because of the self-heal, because of the huge hits, because of the bloodlust, because of the evasiveness with the, again, remember adding dodge in there. Just even though it's got relatively slow, it is slow, it's going to have 25% chance to avoid, plus a dodge is another 25% chance. So it's a 50% chance to avoid, plus it has heal, plus it has oppress. And this one is probably the best on the death team, but Wily is so good too, in a totally different way with the 2 mana. That's just so good, considering like how many times you're gonna be able to play that. But Usut is my number 1 from the black. And then from the dragon, it's a bit tricky because they're both interesting. For 1 mana though, I really think you're going to see 10 hit points out of this thing by the time it makes it to the front. And for 1 mana, that's potentially a real game changer. So, but this is cool too. And you're going to see synergies where this weapons trainer helps out some of your other teams that maybe don't have the best weapons trainer. So I don't know how to decide there. But that's what I think about these. I didn't even cover the neutrals. I did forget about neutrals. This is Clockwork Aid, speed, rust, huge armor. You're going to want to use that with the Grandmaster Wraith. Love it for 4 mana. Gobson Bomber. Somebody said this one was clutch. What was the deal here? Camo, recharge, potentially huge, crazy archery damage with the piercing and the fury. Dude, if you miss though, that'd be so annoying. When you miss a recharge shot, it's so annoying. And archery can miss, and 5 speed can miss. Dumak Orc. I don't love the art there. The shield is cool. The retaliate is cool. The thorns, again, a nice partner for Grandmaster Wraith. Wraith and the white team are really running away with this with all under the new soulbound sort of experience. I think they are the greatest benefactors. And possibly General Sloan is seeing some interesting new things out of these soulbound cards. Another martyr for 3 mana with some archery damage, which is relatively limited. Snare and break. I don't love that. It's okay. For 3 mana, you got to appreciate it, but it's not like an Usut. It's not like a double striking coastal, whatever, from the blue team. What do we got here? Multiple types of attack. You've got the double strike. Whoa, this is Drybone Raider. Makes me think of that dragon, double striker who has melee and archery, and this one has a good amount of hit points. It has armor. It's very slow, but the cripple is juicy. If there's a true strike rule set, because remember there's that rule set where everything hits and you don't miss your melee. I think that's an really interesting card to play there because the speed will hurt you otherwise. And I would want to use it in a rear position because I don't want Giant Killer to delete me. It has no sustain or anything. So I like that a lot. Gobson's probably my favorite neutral. Or maybe Clockwork. But you'd need to use it with the Wraith because it's too weak heart-wise. So that's it, guys. Those are the my last review on the reward cards. They're amazing. I like what it's doing. It's bringing a whole new life to some of the cards that had no attack. It's bringing a whole new game style by bringing so much more bloodlust to the game. It's really going to transform the joy we're having here. So, and my Hazy came over to say hi. So I'm gonna check in with the crowd, and then I'm gonna probably wrap up in 5-10 minutes. The Salty Bear, that's his name. Oscu, good to see you, buddy. Love Cripple, but I still don't use Dallin. Me neither. I think Dallin is a bit cheap though. Like for what it offers, for the price it costs, I think Dallin is worth our attention. Arbalest with Sloan and Martyr. Yep. Wow. That's the right answer. HL49 also got a double dripple resurrect with the life dragon team. Yeah. The amount of resurrects. Yeah, that's the thing too. You bring, juicy. Guys, let's talk strategy with the death team. Because was it the death team that had the go items, and then we go rewards, and we go just death, all cards. So no, it wasn't the death. It was the life team. So you've got the taunt that's going to attract your opponents, and it's going to die. And you're going to put this in the 5th spot next to the Arbalest and next to Runemancer Atua. That's my play. Runemancer Atua in the 4th position, Izzyar in the 5th position, Arbalest in the 6th position. And then what's going to happen is you're going to die and you're going to Bloodlust, or you're going to Martyr those 2 amazing cards, making your Arbalest kick out 4 and 4 if you didn't use Sloan, and then making Runemancer get a magic buff. And then you're going to bring Resurrects. You're going to bring 1 or 2 or 3 Resurrects in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd position. And theoretically, your Izzyar is going to die 2 or 3 times, giving crazy benefits to Runemancer Atua and to your Arbalest. That is a play, guys. There's something there. Maybe it needs some work because you wouldn't want like just a weak old Resurrect card in the 1st position. But there's a way to do that maybe. That might really be powerful. You could also use Resurrects on life to get multiples. Yep. The recharge monster for death that nobody uses is blind. So maybe that with Astral Entity will be more played. That one I use game cubing. That's like the only recharge one I regularly use. I think it's 5 mana, and I use it because of the blind, because I already play a real strong speed meta with the death team, using Nightmare in the 1st position, using some swiftness in the back and some slow, and then I bring that card for blind. And it's almost good that it has recharge because I don't want it to kill itself with a magic reflex. So I like that it fires every other turn, because my whole attack strategy is to let the Nightmare do the work and stay alive through evasiveness. Oscu, I like death cards too. Really cool cards at high levels. Yes. Like that dragon Uset is nasty. Yeah, death might have been the 2nd strongest. The neutrals are probably the 2nd strongest. I really, really like the white team in all of its soulbound cards, but then the neutrals, because the neutrals apply to so many different looks. But strangely, the white team benefits from soulbounds that are its own in the biggest way. In my opinion, the white soulbounds are the best from any one splinter. But then you look at the neutral soulbounds, and they actually play and lean into the life splinter approach. Armor first. Wraith will really appreciate those. So it's as if the white benefits from their own cards maximally in better than any other team, and then the neutrals help the white team the most. So I feel like the white team got the biggest buff out of these soulbounds. Weapons trainer for Riftwing. Ooh, and Will-O-Wisp. I like that. That's good thinking. 10 mana for 3 dog. Sheesh, expensive. Yeah, for 3 damage, I think you meant. But remember, it has Bloodlust, and it's got the self heal, and it's got good hit points, so it's like a tank. I think you're thinking of the death team, the Uset. Uset is probably my fave new ones is Eli. But him in 2nd or 3rd, he is amazing. Yeah. HL49 Bloodlust and heal is going to be pretty strong. Bloodlust and heal, yes. Yeah, because the hit points will grow, and then your maximum heal will grow. Game cubing, very strong in reverse speed with Astral Entity. Did you guys hear about how reverse speed is going to change? Where Bloodlust, so far, Bloodlust has, when you have a Bloodlust monster, if it's in reverse rule set, the Bloodlust will not give you more speed. But now they're going to change that. So Bloodlust is being nerfed. You will receive more speed every time you kill. All of your stats will go up every time you kill. even when that hurts you. So more speed might be bad because rule set is reverse speed, but you're still going to get more speed. That's just how Bloodlust is going. So Bloodlust is getting nerfed. Oscu says, okay. Oscu plus flight plus evade. So good. Yeah. Dude, the amount of combinations between flight, blind, and dodge that combo is going to get so much more common, which is going to make the speed meta all the more prevalent. And so I think we got to counter speed meta. I think we're going to see more True Strike in the future. Let's see if that's true. But I just feel speed has become so cornerstone. Evasiveness is now even more powerful. And so I feel like we got to see more True Strike or something else that really... Dispel could be part of that. Dispel taking away some of the swiftness, taking away some of the slow or whatever. You know, that could help. Yeah, and reverse speed, potentially flight, dodge, one speed, and bring a blind. Oscu, only good tank in low mana match. I think you're talking about the 2 mana from the death team, the Wily Coyote or whatever. Yeah, he certainly would be a good tank in low mana matches for sure. He reminds me of the 2 mana blue, which has shield and void armor. I forget what his name is, but he's a water team. Horace, thank you for all you do, Dwayne. Appreciate you, man. I've been buying cards like they are out of style. Dude, they are out of style. They're out of print, and they are going to go... That's the thing, man. That's the thing. The reward cards are up about 40 or 50% in the last, I'm going to say 4 weeks. And I can track my own reward value by looking at peak monsters and going into, my cards, and I go specifically onto rewards, and I can see that today my cards are worth $13,924 for just my rewards. And a couple days ago, there was like 9,800 or 10,000. So like over a few weeks, there's been a massive tick up in the prices of these cards. And if you can see it with cards like Heathsmith that were about a half a penny before and are now selling for over a penny. Are we able to buy 400 BCX for 1 penny? Like, look at this. Even though the bid is 1.1 and the low buy is 1.2, you're buying like low BCX copies. If you want to get into like the 400 copies, you're already up another 20% price. You see that? So it's like, it might sound like not very much. Like it went from half a penny to a penny and a half. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And with people like Matt coming out and saying, I am buying these cards. Fair warning, don't complain at me when in the years they go up and I'm selling these, hundreds of copies of Heatsmith or whatever. He's telling you that the owner of the game, the creator of this game, is in the marketplace now buying up these reward cards that are still relatively cheap. So I'm excited for that, and it's cool to see you are too, iHorse. Why they keep nerfing cards and giving them redemption? Yeah, redemption does feel like it's like kind of tacked on as like well, you've got this at least. And it does feel, I would say redemption is interesting in some situations. But I really only like it in super low mana matches. Bobby says, I would have preferred if Bloodlust remained Gladiator exclusive, especially now being able to use them in the rank soon. That's interesting, but yeah, as Oscu points out, Dispel will really help in that. I don't like that you can play them in ranked, that in reverse speed Glad still, yep, that's what we're talking about, the speed going up. Oscu, oh, she took off. I'll tell her you said hi, Oscu. Bobby, Oscu, is that why Dispel started murking Scavenge? Yeah, Oscu got a buff. It's helping, it's taking away a lot of things now. And so did Oppress got a buff because we're going to see so many more. So there's so many changes. I don't know if you guys are really taking note of it all, but like cards that have no attack got a buff because they're going to partner with weapons trainers. Cards that have Oppress got a buff because weapons trainer is making those non-melee, those non-attack monsters more prevalent. Dispel helps more because Bloodlust is more prevalent and Martyr is more prevalent. Yeah, so there's just there's a whole meta change happening, and I don't know that we've fully understood it yet. Aaron Kennedy, good to see you. Long-time listener, first-time chatter. Appreciate it, bud. Thanks for coming to hang out. HL49, Summoner, then Resurrect, 1 monster taunt, 2 monster with your life stuff. So HL's talking about that white team that I talked about and using like Resurrect to maximally exploit the Martyr effect. I think that's really wise. That'd be an interesting play. Normal tank in front. Yeah, that probably makes sense. Dispel also cleansing Scavenge. Ooh, and Life Leech was a bug, but it will strip all Bloodlust stacks with 1 hit. That's going to be... See, Dispel, guys, we don't really know how important Dispel is until the Bloodlust start becoming more prevalent through the Gladiator summoners. And we're going to see more Bloodlust, and you're going to start to see how powerful that would be. And then you're going to wipe it away with Dispel, and you're going to see that those cards appreciate, I bet. There's sometimes when you love a bug, and you're glad it's there, and then it gets taken away, and you're like, no. JPH loaned me his Nightmare for gold. Oh my god, I'm in love. Dude, Nightmare is amazing. Speed him up twice and he'll last entire battle. Yes, he does. If you bring Kitty with the Nightmare and a blind or something, like good luck. HL49 Invalidated Blight, which is a super expensive card. They could not do it. Dwayne, this Bloodlust change is already live. Almost missed a brawl game in last brawl because of this change. Yeah. I didn't know that, but I did hear today through, I think I was listening on Aftersound. Somebody was saying, actually, I think it might have been Icy. He was saying that he submitted his brawl team and then he ended up losing because somebody submitted after when one of the changes took effect. Guys, I need to wrap up here. But thank you so much for the amazing comments and for the conversations. Amin was here. Astral. Oh, Mickey G. I haven't seen you in a while, dude. So much amazing support today, guys. Thank you for all of that. Thank you for hanging out for, was it almost 3 hours? I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna wrap. My throat's starting to hurt. Go spend some time with the fam. Have an amazing day. And please, before you go, drop a like on the video. And I'm going to do one of these live a week, I think. Plus, I'm going to do live weeklies with the members only. So if you want even more Splinterlands contents with me, consider getting involved on the community tab of the YouTube page. At any level, you're going to be invited to join those live events. Plus, you're going to receive a raffle ticket every single month that will have an opportunity to earn a plot of land for me this year. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. Drop a like before you go. Have an amazing day. God bless.